Hey there, YouTube friends. Welcome back to the Bikini Bottom Waterpark, where today we are changing things up and adding some much-needed realism into the project with an overhaul of the entrance area, combined with the addition of the Bikini Bottom Hospital and Gary's splash pad. We've got a wonderful episode on deck. I'm maskedbandit. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get right into it today. First up, we have a time-lapse of the Bikini Bottom Hospital, which is going to function as our first aid structure. This is a building that has very few, if any. I don't think it has any gridded pieces. Everything here is non-gridded. We are once again using the Viking walls scaled way up, and now we're using some art shapes to create the dinghy that is the entrance area to the hospital. The only issue with this structure is, as good as it is and as much as it references the show, it is too big. One of the things that I've run into is I have become so fixated on making sure the references are correct, which obviously needs to be a thing when you're doing a SpongeBob park, that I have kind of lost my way with the realism aspect of this being a functioning theme park. Each building I've built for this project has been getting larger and larger and larger. And that's an issue. So actually, what you're going to see in the real-time portion of the video today is a scaled down version of this building. The nice thing about not using any gridded pieces is that you can absolutely just scale it down within reason. Some of the piping is a little caterwampus, and I haven't gotten around to fixing it yet, but whatever. So here we are adding some of that Bikini Bottom wibbly wobbly pipe metal looking building. There's lots of annexes in this hospital build, it looks like, which is pretty typical of a hospital building, lots of add-ons and things like that. So this was actually relatively, now that I know how to build these structures and the materials to use, this was a relatively straightforward and came together rather quickly, all things considered. It took me about 40 minutes or so to put this all together. The hardest part, of course, is when you're not dealing with things on the grid. Everything gets a little wonky and just trying to line things up. The good news is with Bikini Bottom, the weirder it looks, the more like Bikini Bottom it actually is. So, yeah. Again, the scale of this is a full hospital in the show, but it makes more sense for this to be a first aid building, which is why the scale feels so off. Here we are using some in-game aquatic pipes. That is my go-to for these little antenna-like structures on the building. Up next, we are using art shapes to go ahead and build the symbol, which is actually an anchor in the shape of a plus of a hospital plus sign, cross, not a plus, it's a cross. But it looks kind of like an anchor, which is cute. And yeah, this is going to be kind of off to the side. The other thing that's happening in this episode is we are going to be blowing up the entrance area and redoing it completely, intentionally, of course. I posted on our Discord server, Bro Nation, with some help. I was like, this is getting away from me, and I don't quite know what to do. Please help. And my bestest bro, Mike, if you've been with me for a while, Mike is my partner in crime when it comes to Planet Coaster and a little less like Planet Zoo, where we build projects together, most notably No Name Landia. Bro Coaster on this channel and on his channel was our Planet Coaster 1 series, where we built a hyper-realistic park. So he offered to help me. So actually, as of this recording, yesterday, I sat in with him, and we blew up this main street. He got the park. We used the new collaboration feature, which is actually really cool. Now that we understand it, I really like it a lot. I'll get into more detail at that another time. But anyway, Mike jumped on and he showed me, he asked me what I wanted, what was important to me, and we went from there together. So one of the things I said that was important is I really wanted SpongeBob and Squidward and Patrick's house to be a focal point, to be a weenie for this project. And so we did that first, and we kind of framed it in with some planting. And then it was a matter of making it make sense. The entrance felt a little pinched, a little not, it didn't feel right. And so with his help, he kind of navigated and repositioned some things and left me with a whole bunch of cleanup, which some of it is done in this episode, but some of it is not. You can see there's the anchor that says hospital on it. We are just going to be cleaning up the top of the structure now. But yeah, so this episode is going to feel like we've taken a step backwards when we get to the real-time portion, when in reality we have taken a major step forward, because I finally feel like this feels like a real project, or a real park. One of my things, I am loving all the references to SpongeBob. I love SpongeBob. I love making the references. I love how excited all of you are to have these references in here. But my bread and butter, the thing that really gets me going, is making a project that looks like it could potentially exist in real life, which is what this is supposed to be. Despite the cartooniness, despite the silliness, I want this to resemble something like, I think I said it in the last episode, Toon Lagoon at Islands of Adventure. A realistic project that is using a cartoon as its influence. And like I said, it had gotten away from me. And so it was really nice in this episode to kind of step back, readdress, rein it back in, and make sure that we could get into a more realistic space. And then from there we jump off and we create some stuff that I think you're really gonna like it. So as you can see, we are finishing this up, just adding the last bit of details. Let's go ahead and jump into real time and take a look at the project as it is today and show a couple updates as we go. So this is what the project looked like once Mike got his hands on it. No. He did this intentionally. I was there watching. He jumped in. We did a video call together. He got the project. He got the park, and he started messing around. And we talked through what I thought would make the most sense. And he used his critical eye and made it happen. The first thing you're going to notice is that this entrance area is much bigger. Several more gates. We still have to fix it up. Obviously, this doesn't make any sense. But we are going to make this look a lot better now. So we're going to have 6 new entrance, 6 turnstiles, and we'll hook up all the paths and make that look all pretty. But then it was, how do we want this to look? What's important? Oh, I said the SpongeBob building is important. And so when we get here into first person and we look, now we have a wonderful view of the pineapple right when we walk in. It's smack dab in the center, even better than it was. And to the right is Goo Lagoon. And you'll notice over here now we have our Krusty Krab and Chum Bucket directly across from each other, but closer to each other, which is actually closer to the show. And actually that makes more sense in a realistic point of view, in that we have a couple food areas here. So we have like a main food area in the park, which made lots of sense to me. And then over here we have our basic lockers, changing room, and restroom. Made a lot of sense to have that all together. And we sort of put it off to the side here, and Mike said he considers guests to flow like water. And so we're going to have a large area here where they're going to crash basically into this area and split either left or right. And a few will flow here, and we're going to make a little sub-plaza here for this area. And then there's going to be another small, narrow path where not most guests will go, but some will go, and that will bring you to guest relations. You'll notice we brought this down. We cut the building in half. I think it fits better in the scope of things. One of the issues I was running into is my custom-made buildings were not fitting in with the references from the show, and I didn't like that. We also scaled down the bargain mart. We brought it back in line with what's already built, and I think that looks great. You can still see Bargain Mart from the lagoon, and it being the main emporium of the park, having it close to the exit, everyone's going to have to walk by it. That made a ton of sense. And then after that, it was, well, where do we put the first aid building? And since it's not one of the most important buildings, not every guest needs it, we're going to have it off to the side here. And you'll notice there's still a bit of cleanup that needs to be done with the pipes and stuff, but we have scaled it back down now. And unfortunately, there's no first aid in the actual game, so I do believe there's more changing rooms and things in there, which will help with guest flow as we progress. So this is what he left me with. And then it was up to me to clean it up. So let me show you some cleanup. It's amazing what some paths will do. It immediately makes it make sense. One of the things that Mike really focused was narrowing your sight lines with planters here, and that means that when you look, if we jump into first person, as you see the trees here, over here, and over here are flanking this view and kind of blocking the other things, kind of forcing your eye. These are things that I'm going to be trying to think about more as the project progresses. Same thing here with Goo Lagoon. We have these trees sort of flanking the Goo Lagoon entrance. And that just makes a lot of sense to me. You'll notice there's some stuff going on over there. Let's get a better look at it. This area now feels like a proper feature, a proper main feature to the park. Think about Canada's Wonderland and the mountain. It is a major focal point when you arrive at the park with a water feature. Obviously our water feature is a little smaller, but I haven't used any of the new water feature pieces yet in the game. So we have some waterfalls and some jets that are hidden and tilted ever so slightly so they cascade. We'll add some idea of pump room and stuff, but we're not going to actually do any of that. Not like Mineral did in his most recent episode of Wet and Wild. Incredible stuff. But we built the rock again, and we raised everything up, and now it is kind of special. It feels a lot more special than it did, a lot more prominent than it did, and now it's even better, I think. Great photo op, and we've got this. We're going to put some chairs here where we can lounge underneath the pineapple. I don't know. I think it looks really, really, really good. I've cleaned up the paths here to make it so that you have to go through one of them to get into the park. We've started fleshing out the planters a little bit. We're going to add some more details to clean this up. We're going to make this bigger. What I'm thinking of doing is making these two buildings connected. That seems to make sense to me. And yeah, that is where we are at. So I've moved this hopefully for the last time. And we're going to do Gary's splash pad right behind it, actually. And we're going to add some slides over here. And that's where we're going to go. So let's move forward in time to show you where the park sits currently. So a little more cleanup over here. We've kind of boxed in the restroom area here with some walls and some fencing and some planting. We've boxed this area in now. You have no way to get into the park. We're going to add some fencing here to make sure people can't just scramble over the rocks. That'll come in a future episode. But you can see here now that restroom building is set in really nice, and I've also expanded. I have to clean it up, but just throwing in this idea that the changing rooms and the restrooms are sort of one massive structure now to facilitate more guests. That seems to make sense to me. And we'll do similar to what we did over here. We'll connect these two over here with a fence and some wall. That's the direction we're headed. We'll clean this up into a nice fountain area. I've expanded the bubbles and the flowers, not everywhere, but we'll have them all in this main open area. But this allows so many more guests to naturally flow without it getting too terribly cramped, which I think is really, really nice. You'll notice these slides back here. These are my imagination slides, and I think it's going to be hilarious if we put a cardboard box right here. The episode where SpongeBob and Patrick use their imagination in their box, and Squidward can't figure it out. Hence the rainbow, because whenever SpongeBob talks about using your imagination, he draws an imaginary rainbow in the air. So that's what that is supposed to represent. And I actually like it because it's out of the way. It doesn't detract from the focal point. But then down here, you can sit and get a good view of people coming down the slides there. I think that's really neat. Not to mention the difference in height here is really, really nice. It did make me think that maybe we're going to have a path come around to meet up with this area. That might be a smart idea. Or at the very least, this path will come all the way around. We'll definitely hook this all up. So yeah, that is all the updates in the main area. And now let's take a look at the new bit. I did throw some new changing rooms down. It seems that changing rooms are really important to have near the slides. It's not enough just to have them in the front of the park. You really do need to have them near the attractions so they'll actually get changed and then go ride the attractions. I have seen more people going on the slides since the most recent update, which is wonderful since the hot fix. But yeah, oh, by the way, these slides were not created by me. They were, I actually saw them on one of Jonty's videos of his Planquatica park. And let's give credit where credit is due and show you who these slides are by. So these slides here are created by Noah, and they are PC1 Water Slide Tower D. And if you get them off the workshop, they look just like this. The same thing as Jonty. He got these because Noah went through all the trouble of using the art shapes to really cement this into one solid structure. And he did just such a good job. I didn't think I needed to do it because he perfected it. So thanks so much, Noah, for this awesome blueprint that I'm using in the project. Make sure you go and subscribe to it. It is a fantastic, fantastic slide structure. It has lots of great detail, and you can just plop and play. It's fantastic. So aside from the slides, the main attraction here is going to be Gary's little splash pad, and we have ourselves an art-shaped Gary that I created. The swirl was the hardest part. You'll see it's a little there, but these are actually drapery or curtain pieces. That was the only thing I could find that was small enough to get a solid swirl. We have a couple basic slides going off of Gary's colors, and we have a super shallow pool here with these awesome mushroom fountains that were made by my good friend Mineral. So we plopped those in, and when I first opened it, there was a really narrow path right here where this planter is. Guests just got absolutely slammed in there. They all tried to go that way rather than use the large path. So what I did is I opened the area up here, and I made it so that you couldn't get through that way. So the only way to get to these changing rooms now is to take the larger path. That is hopefully going to work next time I open up the park. But yeah, I recolored these. You can find these on the workshop as well. They are by Mineral, and they are called mushroom fountains. And then I found some amazing in-game canopy pieces that I recolored to be similar to Gary's colors. And we just put them in there because if this is a place for little kids, you'd want there to be lots of shade. Probably throw some chairs in if we can fit them. It's not a huge area. It's sort of just we have a small space, what can we do with it kind of vibe. And I think that really helps. And the idea here that this is sort of SpongeBob's backyard, I don't know. That's kind of what was in my head as I was doing this, but I'm really, really pleased with the way this all came out. I think it looks really nice, and you get good views of the back of all of these buildings, which is weird to say. And then you can come right up here and go on the imagination races, which also makes sense because I do believe Squidward pretends he is driving a race car when the box is picked up and taken to the dump. But yeah, this is a fun little entry into our water park, and that is where we are at. You can expect in the next episode to be doing more cleanup, and then maybe we'll transition into a bit of a new area. I think maybe some more slides, maybe some pink slides that interact with each other to represent the gloves, the muscle arms. Maybe another smaller pool over in this area to be Muscle Beach, and that's where we can really lean into the Larry the Lobster stuff and maybe have a salty spittoon. That'd be super fun. We are still going to have Weenie Hut Jr. and Weenie Hut General and all that stuff, but that's going to be in a different area of the park. So we have 2 slide structures now and 2 pools. I feel like we're well on our way. In the next episode, we'll see what we can see. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed it, do hit the like button, consider subscribing so you don't miss any fun Planet Coaster 2 or Bikini Bottom Water Park project. With all that being said, have a great day, great night, great whatever, and I will see all of you for the next episode of the Bikini Bottom Water Park. Take care, everyone, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.